And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me this evening. As usual, 5:30 p.m. in Melbourne. So please make sure you introduce yourselves in the comments and let me know where you're joining us from. And also, we're still in Melbourne, still in isolation, endless isolation. So if you're joining us from Melbourne, please let us know how you're actually going with isolation and how you're coping. But as usual, I'm saying that isolation is a great time to learn something new and also, transform and adapt your business for online work. So tonight we're going to talk about how to grow your small business on social media in 2020. And I believe a lot of us finding challenging to consistently post something on social media, and sometimes we simply get carried away with the posting and forget why our business is actually on social media in the first place. And, we all know during isolation, everyone should be on social media, but how we can use it effectively and what changes 2020 actually has brought to us when it comes to getting results with digital marketing. So tonight, Steve is going to share us some simple tips how small businesses can grow with social media and actually help you to understand your long and short goals and objectives when it comes to social media marketing. So, these days, if your business not online, it doesn't exist. So obviously it's an incredible relevant topic these days. So make sure you tag someone who needs to hear this information and share with people who new for their social media marketing. So before I'll pass it over to Steve to introduce himself, I just want to remind you that tonight we're going live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, so you can watch replays on all these platforms. I do recommend watch replays on the YouTube. That's the easiest way to follow me here, subscribing to YouTube channels. In this case, you will see my shows every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time with various experts from my network talking about all the things, online, effective communication online, LinkedIn, personal branding, and content marketing. So we are going to answer all your questions from all the platforms. So please make sure you ask as many questions as you want. And Steve might even have some giveaway at the end of the show for you. But the important thing, tonight, it's actually, not tonight, today is actually Steve's birthday. So
Woo-hoo.
big shout out. Woo! I even have fancy lights for you. Look at this. Is it
I know
working?
I didn't get a birthday hat.
There we go.
I should have actually done a little bit easier. I do have some cake over there, but I'm saving it to have with fish and chips later down the Maribyrnong River. Hello,
Fish and chips
everyone.
and
Hello,
cake.
Yana.
So, guys, remember to introduce yourself, and I'll pass it on to Steve to tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, sure.
Please,
Thanks,
Steve.
Yana. That was great. This is really impressive, this platform, isn't it? I'm excited. I'm just not quite sure I'm seeing what everybody else is seeing. There's so many different things, so many options where they could watch us, which was fantastic. Yeah, well, I think you gave a little bit of a sense of what we're going to talk about, but my name's Steve Howard. I run a business here from Melbourne called Diffy Social. We're a social media marketing consultancy. It's been a really, really interesting 6 months or so of first wave, second wave lockdown for me and my business. I was actually asking Yana before we started what's the biggest takeaway, but certainly for me, I've never been an early riser. But since March, I am up with the little birds and getting the worms pretty early. So 6 a.m. has been my start time, and I'm loving it. I find that you can get a lot done between 6 and 9 a.m. that I didn't used to get done. And one of those things, so I'm not sure how many of your viewers are offline networkers in the past. I'm sure if they're on here on LinkedIn that they are probably networkers. And for me, I like to be pretty active networking both on LinkedIn as well as offline. So clearly in March, there was a big impact Australia-wide, and we're all part of the BNI network, which is what I'm part of. I think we might have even met first through that, Yana. But we've all gone onto Zoom meetings, and yeah, back in March, I was sort of touring around the country. So I've spent a lot of time. My initial goal in July was to try and get to as many BNI meetings as there was Australian rules football games, and I managed to do that, which was good. And I also managed to sort of realized there was an opportunity to perhaps grow the business, and we also recruited using LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, is the absolute best recruitment tool. And so we had 1,100 applications on LinkedIn in a 10-day period from marketers across Australia. And just this week, or sorry, 2 weeks ago, they've all completed now onboarding. So we've got 9 new marketers with us, 10 in total, 11 including me, across Australia. And so it's been a really busy time, and they're all now in BNIs as well. And we're doing it all like this. So so far we've basically brought on 9 new marketers, and I have met none of them face to face yet.
I think I have a picture of them here. Here we go.
Yeah, they are. They're handsome and good looking, aren't they? And they're all much younger than me.
Oh, well,
yeah,
it's your birthday today, so we're not going to talk about it,
Exactly. That's good.
So guys, we actually want to ask you as well, how has 2020 impacted your marketing? And I guess particularly social media. So, like, are you using social media less, more, or the same during this time and during 2020? So what has been your behavior on social media? Because we all know when we think about our own behavior on social media, it helps us actually to think about how our potential clients might consume content online as well. So let us know how is your behavior changed during this time. And I guess my first question to Steve will be, why small businesses actually need to be on social media in the first place?
I'll answer that in 1 second. I can see that Yasser has said hello from Melbourne, and I know Yasser. He's a great man. So hello to you, Yasser. Good to see you, buddy. I have no idea how to respond to you in the comments using this fantastic platform that we're on, but I will say hello later. Good to see you. I hope you're well. In terms of and now because I can never, you asked me a question and I've forgotten what that question was. It was around what's happened, what's changed. Yeah, repeat it.
So the question is, I'll repeat the question. Yeah, I should have say hi to Yessi as well, but oh well. So the question is, let's start from the beginning. Why small businesses actually need to be on the social media in the first place?
Yeah, I think and clearly social media can often people think about it in various ways. When I talk about social media, I talk about 6 main platforms, basically. So those 6 platforms are the one that we're sitting on tonight, LinkedIn. And clearly on LinkedIn, we have a LinkedIn personal profile that has various network friends. And then we also have capacity to have a LinkedIn company. So there's a personal and then usually LinkedIn company. So clearly when we're working with businesses, we're working with their LinkedIn company. I'm not pretending I'm Yana. I'm actually being the business, right? Then there's Facebook, and now Facebook owns Instagram. So clearly they're a key platform, and they're also the platform that we use from an advertising perspective. Then we've got Twitter. There's actually 20% of the population that has a Twitter account. I reckon maybe 5% know how to use it for anything other than getting football and world events. But realistically, it is a platform that's very good for placing you and placing your industry. And then the other one are the 2 biggest search engines, right? So you've got Google My Business and you've got YouTube. So there are 6 profiles that we believe are kind of the must-haves, right? There's clearly some power around what ones can work most effective, and clearly Facebook and Google. I think you only have to watch ABC News at the moment, and Alan Kohler, they talk about they're pretty much, along with Apple, maybe Netflix, maybe Zoom, they're pretty much propping up the entire global economy, right? Because they are just mega businesses, right? So in many ways, whenever we're talking to businesses, we talk about those 6 as being a must-have. But with regards to advertising, Facebook and Instagram, clearly the advertising. And then with regards to sort of professional network and professional recruitment, then clearly LinkedIn is, I think LinkedIn clearly is the most powerful direct and personal marketing platform, right? So in other words, I could say, hi, Yana, I'd love to find out more about your video coaching business. Can we catch up for a chat or a coffee or whatever it might well be? Well, straight away, that's direct and personal. It's not much different to an email, right? pretty much the same.
I find
Yeah.
it's even more personal than
Yeah.
email. I actually like introductions more via LinkedIn than via email. You know, like
Yeah.
I find that the email people lose it. You know, like someone introduce you through the email, and you think like, oh, I need to reply to email. I need some time to sit down and reply to email. But then you have a quick introduction on LinkedIn. People usually reply quicker.
Yeah. And look, I think the other thing is all of the social media, and we're sort of here to talk about social media in 2020. There's some pretty funny things you can watch in terms of what's his name, Sammy J. I love watching Sammy J. His 3-minute videos at the moment, and there's one where he goes up and he's the year 2020. He goes up to see God, and God's going, oh, 2020. And now whenever my 5-year-old hears the word 2020, he just thinks the word 2020 is hilarious, right? Just because Sammy J was playing God. And anyway, but something like LinkedIn in 2020 is a much better version than what it was in 2019, is a much better version than it was in 2018. And pretty much that goes for most of the channels, right? They're always improving. I remember years ago hearing a guy from Facebook saying, how far is Facebook done, right? And I remember him saying, Facebook is only 1% done. I saw him 3 years later and I said, how far is it done now? He says, it's probably 1% still. It's like they're constantly evolving, right? And they're constantly changing. So LinkedIn, you know, by way of example, you know, it took quite a long time for Australians to get the capacity to invite people to their LinkedIn company page, right? That was something that was rolled out in America in 2019. I'm pretty sure we've only had capacity, at least all of us, to actually invite people to our company page and follow our companies on LinkedIn, I reckon only the last 6 to 9 months, right? So that's a 2020 thing, right? The lives are a 2020 thing, I think. Is that right? Lives is 2020. Articles.
Yes,
articles is
yeah.
very articles has become a much more. And then the other thing is actually, I think there's certain things I quite like writing articles. In actual fact, maybe articles is one of those things that's nosedived. Certain things have gone backwards, right? There's certain things that you used to do that actually did well that now do terrible, right? So you'd probably know more about some of those things when it's particularly when you're using it as yourself. But certainly the best two things from me, from a LinkedIn perspective, is that capacity to invite people to our page in terms of our company page. But the function that I love, and don't tell anybody, but I use it quite a lot for events. You can create an event and you can invite people. You use your LinkedIn company, you create the event. So I recently spoke at my BNI. You can then invite your network to your event. I didn't do one for tonight. Sorry about that. I should have done that, right? I should have thought about it. But I love the LinkedIn event using your company page. It's a great feature. And it's a really good way to stay in touch. And you can kind of think, well, who do I really want to come to this event, right? You know, clearly, if it's a Melbourne localized event, then you're only going to invite Melbourne people. If it's a marketing related event, then maybe it's going to be your marketing people. If it's a small business, you get the point, right? So it's a good way. Anyway, so I love that about LinkedIn. That's the biggest thing I've seen on LinkedIn, by the way. Yeah.
There is a lot of changes on LinkedIn, and we can definitely say that all social media constantly rolling out new features like every year, like not every year, like every month there is a new feature. I think the most recent feature for LinkedIn would be stories that people still not really utilizing because they only roll in a few countries. So it's actually, there is no point to utilize them right now because you're not really reaching audience anyway. So there is definitely, so there's definitely new features coming up every year. But look, the one thing that we discussed before, and I want to bring this question to you right now. I think you just mentioned these 6 platforms that you think that all small businesses kind of like must have. Let's repeat this thing, 6. Let's repeat them once more so that people remember.
Yeah, so we've got LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn. Yep. LinkedIn, where is kind of our most powerful personal brand. You know, that's our strongest. But you can create your company there. You've got Facebook, and Facebook owns Instagram. It also owns WhatsApp and Messenger, which is why us advertisers can basically hunt you with your, in your interests and all that sort of stuff, because it's not just the private stuff. the public stuff. It's the private stuff they have data on as well. Those people that have watched The Social Dilemma recently will understand just how slightly evil it may well be. Yeah, so they're the first three. Then we've got Twitter, and then we've got Google My Business. Now, Google Plus failed, and that was defunct now. It's amazing how many businesses, even corporate businesses, still have the Google Plus icon, which is a broken link on their websites. Get rid of it. Put your Google map on there, right? And then the other one is Google owns YouTube. So effectively, you've got Alphabet, which is such a massive company, and you've got Facebook, massive company. But those 6 channels, they're the must-haves. If you had to ask me,
and that's the question. Here we go.
That's going to be a question.
You just mentioned to me before, behind the scenes, that you think that the small business need to have all this, need to have all these 6 platforms, and that's kind of, in a way, unpopular opinion, because a lot of marketers are often saying, like, no, just find the platform where your audience is and just concentrate on this platform. So Steve, so what do you think? Why do you think we need to have more than one platform?
I think it because it's an asset. So you first of all, you need to think of it as part of your online asset. Even whether you're going to do any marketing with them or not, you need to have them as an asset. So the first thing we do with any business is we make sure that those 6 channels. We didn't mention TikTok, which is actually the 7th we've put on our website. But we like that one just because it's a nice little fun one that we can have a play with to share to Facebook and Instagram. So we're still using it, but more as a content creator. But anyway, the reason I believe it, I did say to you this earlier, I'll have people that will come to me and they'll say, Steve, I want to get out of my business in the next 5 years, right? So if you think of a marketing house, and at the top of the house, there's a social media marketing, well, realistically, if you haven't got those 6 channels, then your social media marketing house isn't complete. So it actually devalues the business, right? So in other words, if I can't easily find you on Google because you don't have a Google My Business, well, your business is a little bit less. If you don't have a YouTube channel, which by the way is the second most powerful search engine, if you don't have a YouTube channel, whether you're using it to put videos or not, you're actually making your business a little bit less valuable. And by the way, you may as well own the name, because if you don't own it, if you've got a name that someone else wants to own, well, then potentially when you go and try and set up those channels, that's not there for you, right? So you need to set them up on brand, means on name and looking the same, right? So it doesn't matter whether I come from YouTube, Google, whether I'm going to the Twitter channel, the Twitter looks the same in the website, it all works together, right? The reason we want to have those assets is because they're assets. They make your business worth more, right? There's no point. It's a little bit like having a house. If you're going to have a house, don't just add the renovations and then sell it the next day, right? You're best off adding all the rooms and then getting the benefit of those rooms for however long you want to get the benefit, because not only does the asset increase by creating them, it increases by how you then use them, right? It increases because it's your marketing communications, because platforms like Facebook and Instagram now enable you to advertise. And so the problem that people make by saying, well, okay, my audience is only on Instagram. Well, that's okay. But the problem is, are you you might have to spend a lot of money to get to that audience, right? Basically, because Facebook, it's still Facebook's algorithm, right? And Facebook isn't very generous when it comes to algorithm, right? If you want a generous algorithm, go to Twitter. The problem is no one really knows how to use Twitter, and it's very hard to find the feed. And so I spend a lot of time speaking to people sort of 15 years younger than me and 15 years older than me, explaining that if you understand the newspaper, you understand social media, because it's all about the news feed. It's not about the homepage. It's about the news feed and getting into your target audience news feed, however you're going to do that, right? So the people that follow you, they'll see a portion of your posts, right? So in Facebook, 10% is about average. We're lucky in Australia. 10% is good in Australia, right? In America, it's down to 1%, right? It's worse, right? And anyway, but to get to, I hope I'm making a reasonable argument that yes, some of the social channels are more powerful, particularly when you talk about advertising, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't at least own the other ones, right? So you should at least own the other ones as your asset. You may not use them as much, but you should own them and brand them so that no one else can butcher them. Yeah.
I totally agree, because I claim my real estate, I think, on all the social platforms. I do have even TikTok. I posted one video a year ago on TikTok, and since then I never log in it.
I can't believe it. I look at you and I think you are made for TikTok. I'm surprised. I would have thought you'd have many.
I don't like flashing, quick changing content. That's just not my thing. I don't like this, snippets of the flashing content with flashing visuals. Definitely, I'm staying away from TikTok. But I think I even register on things like Snapchat. Never use it, but just register my name as well. So just claiming the real estate. But look, I think as a small business owner, you will be, sitting here and thinking, but Steve, how I can manage all 6, social media channels? It just feels like impossible, especially if you're small business.
Well, that's not too hard, but actually before you move on managing them, let's talk about setting them up in the first place, right? So you know that the Yellow Social Media Report is a small business report, and you know that tells us that less than 50% have any social media real estate. So in terms of your language there, right? So that just means they've whacked up a Facebook page. You know that, right? So of the 50%, 90% of them have a Facebook page. What do you reckon most of those Facebook pages look like?
Just a page, but it's nothing going on.
There's probably, so yeah, you got 2. So in our experience, so often there's a branding issue for a start, right? The amount of times we see pages where the logo is, so a print type image sits in the cover, and a logo image, well, where the logo should be, you actually have a picture of a building. It's so it's actually the wrong way around, right? So the other thing is, just because you have it doesn't mean that they're of value, right? So often what people set up is just quite often may well repel their target audience. So you got to be really careful what you set up and how you set it up, right? That's one thing, right? Not to make people scared, but at the same time, it's a little bit to your point around the fact that then they might set it up, but then they don't post, right? So in other words, remembering it's all about newsfeed. So as far as if you've got a business and you've just set up a Facebook page and you've never posted, then what does that tell people? A lot of people will look at it and think, I wonder if this mob is still in business, because they're not communicating, right? So if you're not communicating, you may inadvertently be communicating to your target audience that you're actually not social and you're not in business, right? We find it, we've had past clients where we had to add a maintenance thing on for them, right? So they'd go from daily or every second day post to nothing. And people think they go out of business, literally, right? So then we just do, okay, well, let's post at least once a week so that there is some activity so people know that you're still a going concern, right? So, yeah, I hope that was to your point around, yeah, in terms of the power of the different ones, I think how you use them and how you set them up is equally important, right? So they need to be set up. Yes, most people will set up Facebook, and Facebook now, it's only in this last week we're actually all being migrated to this new thing called Business Suite, right? So with Business Suite, it's now where you can manage your Facebook and your Instagram. You can pretty much do that with Facebook pages anyway. But anyway, I know what you said. I'm coming back to your question. How do you manage them all? Right? And so for those people that don't, as far as I'll get to Amit's question in a second. So that's a good strategic question. The way we manage that is we use a scheduler called Hootsuite, right? So for us, Hootsuite's our go-to. There is a free Hootsuite where you can have 3 platforms, right? So it enables you to broadcast to 3 of your profiles. If I have to pick the first 3, I always pick LinkedIn Company, Facebook page, and Instagram. But then we use a little hack called If This Then That, so that our Instagram posts also go to Twitter. So something like Hootsuite is a great way to broadcast your content with regards to LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, right? To Amit's question where he's saying, what's your tip on content to paste on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Insta. Well, the reality is YouTube, we don't post on a daily basis because YouTube would require you to actually create a video each day. So that is content creation. Our strategy, I don't know if you've got it there, if you want to put the strategy up, but we use you put all your content, Amit, put it onto your website. So if you look at the middle section of this infographic, you'll see how we suggest that websites are set up. And effectively, the process that we do is we take content from your website and share a bite-sized amount to the social medias. So in other words, particularly your LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, in order to get them back to the website, to the bricks and mortar place, or to the phone. So the idea is that's the strategy. So you're basically, when someone comes to us and our client says, oh, we've got this fantastic new offer, well, we say, well, great, where is it? I can't see it on your website, right? Or I've done this brilliant new video. It's like, fantastic, where is it? Why can't I see it on your website? And basically, we'll put it on their YouTube channel, and then then that enables them to put it onto the website and other areas. So yeah, how do you divide the content? What type of content and how often do you promote it? Yeah, so Amit's got some good questions. So Amit's question, yeah. So basically, yeah. Hold on, Amit. We've got to get to your second question first. Yep. So your first question. So for our clients, we either do it at an extra small or a small level. So we post either daily or every second day. And in terms of the way we then manage that, we report every month or every second month, depending on the size of the client. But our organic posting, so in other words, without any promotion to the people that are already following them on their pages, we post either daily or every second day, and we take the content from the website. And we use the various strategic areas of the website. So it might be their blog, it might be their services, it might be their unique about us, why, it might be an offer. So in other words, we use that sort of parallels within their business to decide what we're going to post. With regards to what they promote, we talked about before, less than 50% of businesses have a social media profile, let alone a strategy. 13% of businesses, small businesses, have a strategy. 13. That's very low, right? Amit, I don't know if you do, but you would be in a very small percentage if you do. Of them, and yet 13% only have a strategy, but 30% actually have boosted or promoted the post. What do you reckon happens when you promote your advertising and you don't have a strategy? Well, no one knows. Generally speaking, they don't know whether it's working or not working, so then they ask me. And generally, we'll basically say, well, that was unlikely to work because of who you're targeting. That was unlikely to work because the way you've written the content. That was unlikely to work because whatever, right? So often it's kind of, it's interesting because people will often have this expectation, something from an advertising perspective, what they used to promote in the newspaper, they might have spent $1,500 on, but now because they put $30 on a Facebook boost, they somehow expect that they're going to sell a $15,000 piano, right? So realistically, you need to make sure the expectations are in place and understand what the objectives of your advertising and the objectives of your day-to-day posting. We talk in terms of long tail and short tail, right? Long tail is day-to-day, weekly posting that is about building trust, building relationship, building understanding and educating of what you do, why you're better than your competition, and why people should choose your service or your product. That's long tail stuff. You need to get a lot of awareness around for people before they buy off you. And it depends what your product or your service is. Short tail, you advertise, right? We're doing a number of politicians at the moment. Where do you think we're spending our energies? Short tail. It's all about getting their face known in their local areas or their local territories, and we're advertising, and it's vote for us. On October 24th, vote for this person in this ward, in this council, right? So there is short tail wins you can achieve through Facebook and Instagram advertising. But if you do that without the long tail, people won't trust you, they won't respect you, and they probably won't buy off you, right? So you need to combine marketing communications with advertising. One doesn't work without the other. And I see it all the time. And I see corporates do it. Corporates are the worst, in fact, at doing it. Have a look at property developers. Property developers want to sell the shit out of their properties, but they're not doing any background behind the scenes work around telling us why and how fantastic it is, and come and meet the team, and we're really nice people, and blah, 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 building the relationship. They just want to sell you, and no one likes being sold on social media. Right? So anyway, that's the fact.
That was that was really passionate, Steve. I like it. I like how you just really give us great examples there. Let's summarize. Yeah, let's summarize, because I think it was a few really good points. Reply in regards to reply to the Amit's question as well. So obviously, the first thing, have a strategy. Yep. Before you even decide how often you need to post, you need to have a strategy while you're posting. Correct?
I agree.
Okay. So, and then when you have a strategy, you also need to, I think, use the power of repurposing and think about what sort of content and assets you already have and how you can divide it into small bites of information and spread it out around all your social media platforms. Correct?
Absolutely. And Amit saying he's got it, we've got in his head now with short and long tail. I like that. And Amit, the other thing is what we didn't cover off, the benefit of repurposing, Jana, is that you get the spin-off of search and of social, right? So if we're putting all of our content and all those juicy words and all that why us and what we do and all that sort of stuff, then those words are going on our website. So it's great from a Google perspective, not just for somebody like us to repurpose it. And you can use it over and over. And because it's newsfeed, nobody's going to know. Facebook's not generous. Facebook is ungenerous when it comes to organic posting. So nobody's going to know that something you posted 6 weeks ago, you've reposted slightly different with a different picture 6 weeks later. They're not going to know, right? Generally speaking.
I'm really glad, Steve, that you mentioned it, because I think a lot of people worried about posting something that they have already posted. And I hear like all the time, people come to me and say like, but I already like did a video about that. But it doesn't mean that this exact the same video. And why you think that if you did the video about that everyone already watched it? And it's already, and also it's coming back not only about the algorithm, it's coming back to simple human psychology. Like we've been talking with you like for half an hour, and how many % of the information that we've been talking about people will remember after this stream? Maybe like 20% of the information people will remember after the stream. So if we repeat the same concepts and the same tips in another stream, people not gonna get upset. It's not like they're gonna be like, oh, you already told us about it in this stream. No, it will be like a reinforcement of some knowledge for them, and like, yeah, I remember you already talked about it. That's a good reminder. So actually, don't be scared to repurpose your content. It's actually more beneficial. It's not boring or anything like this. It's actually beneficial than you repurposing it in a smarter way with maybe different examples as well.
Yeah, and there's usually plenty of content on website. And the other thing is then you can actually repurpose your social media by putting a plug-in on your website, so it looks like you're always talking about different stuff. So although two other things actually does remind me. So that's all about broadcasting, right, too. And remember, to be a truly social business, you're not always broadcasting, right? You're actually engaging with other businesses, other network partners, other strategic partners. So one day a week with our clients, we don't actually broadcast anything. We actually go into the feed itself and just engage with their partners, their clients, their strategic others, and we actually like their stuff, and we'll actually share something. We call it ambush social media marketing, right? And we actually share something often that's quite bigger than us. So use that yellow social media report as an example, right? If I share the yellow social media report across to my social channels, well, yellow will probably go, who's this upstart, right? This business that's sharing our great content. But that's in an ambush context, that's good for them because I'm sharing it to people that might not have otherwise read it, right? So they're getting a video, or it could be a report or whatever it is, to an audience that they want to get to, but might have otherwise found it hard to get to. And just to one other thing that Amit sort of said, people and small businesses are the worst. often think that they have to change the boost, right? Boost every second post. Has that been the way that traditional people have done it? Does Harvey Norman change its ad every time it advertises? No. Basically, they get in, they just advertise. I've got clients, cleaning industry clients, who have pretty much run the same awareness ad for 2 years. It's been seen by more than 2 million people. Sure, the impressions is 5 million or whatever it is. It's crazy, right? But the reality is, if you've got a core why us and something that's important that you want to educate, you don't need to be chopping and changing your advertising because your dollar is too precious. Focus on what you want to let people know and stick with it until you feel like everybody that needs to know knows. And then think about changing it, right? Sure, there's different types of campaigns you can look at, but don't think you have to chop and change your advertising content all the time. Yeah.
100%. 100%. And I think we like definitely all guilty about overthinking about the content. I think it's a really a really big trend between small businesses, overthinking about the content instead of just understanding that you already have these assets. As you mentioned, like you grab the assets usually from the website, but usually going to your clients and think about frequently asked questions and something that seems like a common sense to you, that content is already there. There is no point to overthink about it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is a mistake that people make, because if they are creating content, that they create these posts that are nice, but they're just nonsensical posts. So the amount of small businesses that are posting, often, in fact, sometimes they're overly nice. They're actually sharing lots of other people's content, right? So, but realistically, is that likely to have any great value or benefit to their business? It's probably not, other than just being a nice person. Oh, Yana shares all of she shares all of this. It's a bit like, well, okay, Yana's really nice, but ultimately, is Yana going to benefit from that? So ultimately, you need to have some call to action. So even if that basic call to action in a post is just how do you find out more, or how do you contact us to have a chat? And that's often what we see is a lot of small businesses do nice posts rather than more strategic posts and they don't all have to be strategic, but at the same time, you should have in mind, I'm going to do this post. Really, if you're doing more than 2 posts a day, by the way, on just about any platform, they'll knock your algorithm, right? So I've seen people, so if you pay a social media marketer in your organization, let's say that you've got an employee, I've seen it where they're doing 8 posts a day in a real estate organization, right? The first post in that day may get 10% reach. The second post, and they're all beautiful posts. Second post might get 8%. The third post, 3%. The fourth post, by the end, no percent. So if you overpost into your Facebook particularly, you will get no reach by the end of the day. And basically, so don't be tempted to overpost your content either, right? So 1 to 2 maximum. Bit like hashtags. Don't hashtag the bejesus out of things, right? Old people don't like it. They just think you're strange, for want of a better word. I do have another one, but I'm not going to use it. Basically, even on Instagram now, the way I understand it, tops 5, right? We basically say 2 to 3, because we're using the same on Instagram and Facebook, 2 to 3 max, right? Don't over hashtag, please. It just, particularly for older generation like me, they just look at you and they'll straight away, you may as well tell them that you don't want to work with them, right? Because basically they just think you're way too young and funky and they're doing stuff that they don't understand.
Okay, Steve, let's kind of try to wrap it up. We're almost getting to 40 minutes. So what I'd like you to do, can you maybe just summarize a little bit for us and give us maybe your top 3 tips when it comes to, growing your small business on social media in 2020. So top 3 tips for this year on social media.
Well, my number 1 tip is to actually ask an expert, right? So I've got to say that on the basis that the amount of people that have their niece or their nephew or their wife's best friend doing their social media, just because they're on social media a lot doesn't mean they're any good at it, right? Basically, make sure that you kind of know, I guess perhaps the best way to say, if you're going to engage someone or you're going to do it yourself, make sure that someone tells you what the objectives are, right? ultimately the objective should be protect your brand, right? Grow your relationships and build your business and grow it, right? That should be the, so you need to be able to ask that of your digital / social media person, right? And if it's from a takeaway point of view, hopefully, Yana, because of the conversation, understand the value of the 6 main social media, right? We'll leave TikTok out for now. The 6 main social media, just understand the benefits. There are people that can help you. So realistically, understand that all 6 have their benefit. And also, probably what we didn't really touch on, that don't start thinking of this, particularly those businesses that have had to go into a shell during coronavirus. Don't be thinking about, I'm going to do this once I'm opening my doors again, right? Because if you do that, it may be too late, right? You really need to look at it. And this isn't just social media marketing. This is about your business strategy. And I often say, no amount of social media marketing will make a duff business any good. It'll just make it fail faster, right? Make sure that your business, if you've had a time to have a bit of a pause in your business and you've hopefully been working on it, make sure you've been really working on it and really, go and kick some goals. Make sure that your marketing communications, that you're really ready to launch when you can launch, right? Don't start thinking about this when you can launch, right? Start thinking about this now. In Victoria, we know we've got some easing hopefully coming by Sunday. That may not ease to our businesses, right? So if it's not eased to your business and you still can't open your health and wellbeing practice or your bar or whatever it is, then work on the business, work on your plan. What are you going to do when you can get out there again, right? Because don't be doing it once you can. Because once you can, you just want to be looking after your customer come that time, right? Look at it now. Don't leave it too late. Basically just keep communicating. Whether you're open at the moment, whether you're reopening, just keep communicating, keep telling people what the status is, keep supporting one another, and just basically be available and be open on your social media, whether it's personally or through your business. Just keep communicating.
And definitely thinking about your long-term goals. So it's a good time to work on this building trust and long-term content. And maybe start a as you said, like short-term objective later than you're ready. But the long-term content will need time to build the trust. And the trust only builds over time. So if you just suddenly go into a hole during this time, you kind of need to rebuild the trust again. So guys, whoever is still with us, please, you still have a chance to ask one more question to Steve before I let him go to celebrate his birthday. And I'll just give you a quick overview of what's coming next on my YouTube channel in the next few weeks, because next week we're going to talk with Daniel, and we're going to talk about props and cons of filming marketing videos yourself. So I'm sure, knowing me, that I encourage you to do your marketing videos and post on LinkedIn, but whereas could be pluses and minuses, and you're creating your videos yourself and actually not hiring the video production company. So we're gonna have a bit of a fight with Daniel next Wednesday. In 2 weeks' time, we're gonna talk with Andrew about what to post on LinkedIn to attract your ideal clients. So we concentrate more on the content creation for LinkedIn. And the week after, I will be interviewing myself and talk about how to feel confident in front of the camera. So make sure don't miss this one, because obviously, that I'm interviewing myself. I need to make sure you're here with me to ask some questions. I made this saying thanks, and thanks for wonderful discussion. Thank you, Amit, for joining us today. And get a lot from this show. So, Steve, the last words from you.
Well, firstly, I'd like to thank you for inviting male guests to your show. It's I know Daniel and Andrew quite well, both of them, and I think Daniel particularly very lucky that he got married probably only 3 to 6 months before we've gone into lockdown. So he's probably a very happy man in his first year of marriage. And Andrew, I'm not quite sure of his marital status, but he's a great guy. I look forward to hearing from them as well. I don't think anybody other than Amit could actually be the one that, if he wants to have an audit and consult, then I'm pretty sure he's the one that might be able to. If he's running a business, then Amit, please feel free to reach out to Yana or myself, and more than happy to provide you with an audit and consult. We do waive that for businesses that go ahead with us anyway.
Time.
Yeah, what's that?
Giveaway time.
Yeah, giveaway. Well, I'm just saying it now. Is that okay that I said it's Amit?
Yeah, of course. Amit was like the most active participant today.
Yeah, and he's well and truly, he got a bit greedy with his questions in the end, but we can't not look after him, can we? So I'm sure if he wants to follow up with that, we'll look after him.
100%. I'll connect you both on LinkedIn if you haven't been connected yet, so you can have a chat. And I'll probably also post your infographics if it's okay in the comments. You happy for me to share it? Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Sure.
So if give people a bit of an overview and reminder about what you just mentioned about repurposing your content and actually, making sure they on all the social media channels in 2020. Steve, I'm not going to hold you longer because I know you have fish and chips booked and a cake ready and candles and all this stuff.
Yep, and my little boy's always the last one to get picked up from childcare anyway, so I've got 10 minutes. All right, thank you so much, Yana.
Happy birthday. Thank you so much. And I'll see you on LinkedIn and see everyone next Wednesday at 5:30.
Awesome. See ya. Bye.